Since the beginning of Total War Warhammer, CAA has constantly been adding new legendary lords. Compared to when it was first released, we are now spoiled with factions and lords to choose from. However, the history of Warhammer is vast, being built over decades, and some lords have been missed. There is so much variety from the lore that they'll never be able to fit them all in. In this video, I would like to say which lords I miss most from each faction and which ones I want to see. Lords that have not yet been added to the games. For the Beastmen, I chose Taurox, the Brass Bull, a Doom Bull of immense power. He can not only deal a ton of damage, but he has incredible holding power. In the tabletop, he is the best armor save one can have. This makes the prospect of seeing him on the battlefield terrifying to his enemies. Taking him down would require a lot of effort. Having a large character early on is a lot of fun in the campaign, especially if getting larger units isn't an early game thing for your faction. Beastmen don't have an economy and rely primarily on raiding and sacking for money, which makes more expensive units, like Minotaurs, a luxury. Taurox would likely have buffs for these units, as well as lowered upkeep, making the incentive higher to take them. Bretonnia was a little harder. The most recent army book had all of its playable characters in the game, so I did a little bit of reading, and I chose Odda Outremer. Sorry guys, I don't speak croissant. He was a great knight who chased out the armies of the even Sultan Jafar. Yes, I'm serious. Games Workshop made Jafar an evil sultan. Anyways, he chased them out of Estelia and pursued them back to Araby. This would allow for Bretonnian legendary lords to have a starting position outside of Bretonnia. He was relentless in his pursuit of the enemies in Araby. A Total War game could reflect this in the way of having a less penalty when settling in desert climates, or perhaps less vigor loss. For the Dark Elves, I chose the most obvious answer. In fact, what inspired me to do this whole video. Malus Darkblade. This character to me, and many others, is absolutely iconic, and it blows my mind that they have not included him in the game yet. His starting location could be almost anywhere on the map. He has a 5-part book series of him trying to locate 5 artifacts and return them to the temple in the Chaos Waste to perform a ritual and release the daemon Zarkan for Malus's body. These could easily be his unique quest to gain his items. He could have a unique ability to release the daemon Zarkan that possesses him. Once done, Malus becomes a loose cannon. If no foes are nearby, he attacks his friends, so only do it when you're in the thick of things. He also has this awesome Noglier, or Cold One. His mount Spite is a runt compared to the others of his kind, but he is smart, or a Cold One anyways, and will give a small buff to nearby Cold One units. I honestly find it bizarre that they have not included him yet, and I can only hope that CA one day plans to make him playable. For Dwarfs, I chose Thoric Ironbrow. The one kind of character missing from the Dwarfs is a Rune Lord. Thoric is the greatest Rune Lord living, and when he marches into battle with his Anvil of Doom, he becomes a terrifying force. When the Anvil is struck, he is able to use Rune Lords for protection for his allies, or destruction for his foes. These would operate very similarly to spells in the tabletop, but in Total War, they would likely be given a cooldown. They would have greater effects and longer range than the runes used by other runesmiths. Thoric has a personal quest to seek out lost dwarf relics, and these could easily be his personal quests. He resides in the south mountains of Karak Azul, giving him a starting position far from the other dwarves. Thoric has been in the lore for ages, and if they add more dwarf characters, I'm sure they'll pick him next. For the Empire, I chose Marcus Wolfhard, the Master Huntsman, the Emperor's captain of scouts, and most accomplished monster hunter in the old world. He reigns from Midland, which would be an appropriate place for him to start. Norska regularly sends down assaults down the northern coast of the Empire, and he would handle them effectively. Marcus is well known for his ability in killing monsters with his monster-slaying weapon, the Amber Bow. In the tabletop, it always wounds on a 4+ and deals D3 wounds. If you don't know what that means, it means he has a 50% chance of wounding any monster and potentially dealing a ton of damage. He is often also accompanied by his buddies, Wolfheart's Hunters. This would be applied to units in the same way as Banner or Grimgore's Immortals. Wolfheart's Hunters are immune to psychology. It would gain a massive bonus to hitting monsters or large units. The Empire has a warrior, a priest, and a wizard for the legendary lords. I think a monster killer would be a perfect addition to what they already have. For the lizardman, I chose Nakai the Wanderer, a fearsome Kroxigor who is said to be the spirit of the jungle made manifest. In the lore, he is similar to the Green Knight. He shows up when need is most dire, turning the events of the battle single-handedly, then disappears after his injuries have been tended to, and doesn't return until needed again. It is unknown if he travels, hides, or simply vanishes after this. I think he would be a great legendary lord because we already have a Slan, Skink, and Saurus. This is a remaining hole to be filled. A large lord gives many advantages to the starting army in a campaign. Plus, with him being so mysterious about his travels, he could start anywhere on the map. I think Albion, near Norska, would be a great starting position. Far away from other lizardmen and surrounded by Norskins, this would be a difficult yet fun challenge. The mysterious and vague history of this character allows for a lot of freedom. For the Greenskins, I chose Grom the Paunch of the Misty Mountains, a goblin I had mentioned earlier, the only one with an appetite larger than myself. He is recognizable by his immense size, making him almost as large as an orc. He wields a massive axe used to decapitate his foes, and rides in the back of a chariot pulled by 3 wolves. The reason why I think he would be a good addition to the game is because goblins are currently underrepresented. Grom is a goblin to be taken seriously in combat. He can pass on buffs to other goblin units, and have an upkeep production similar in the fashion of Skarsnik. He should start in the Misty Mountains, his home, but have missions to bring him to Eastern Ulthuan, where he invaded causing much damage, and toppling several waystones, upsetting the Great Vortex. I think they could easily incorporate this part into the Great Vortex campaign. For Skaven, I chose the most obvious character, the Greyseer Thanquol. He's the most iconic Skaven character, and it's a mystery how they have not involved him yet. His history is vast. I don't even know how to start explaining what this guy's done. His starting locations and unique quests have such a large variety to choose from. I, and many others, are confident that he will one day make an appearance. He is accompanied by his robotic storm fiend, Bone Ripper. He's had this guy years before storm fiends were ever a thing. This pair are dangerous, given the magical might of the Greyseer, and up close, Bone Ripper does what he does best. Rips bones as well as any rat ogre. Plus, he has a warp fire thrower for an arm. If they were to include him, they'd need to incorporate some kind of warp stone effect. I don't think they have that since it's been a while since I played the Skaven campaign, but the inclusion of Thanquol would certainly interest me enough into playing the campaign again. For the Tomb Kings, I chose Prince Apophis, the Cursed Scarab Lord. This was a little hard since all the good characters and all the holes for the Tomb Kings have already been filled, but I had to choose someone. I chose him because of how he'd play on the battlefield. This guy is literally a horde of scarabs in the shape of a man. In the tabletop, he has regeneration and fly. Fly is a useful trait given to any combat-based lord. His special rule, Soul Reaper, gives him crazy bonuses against a single target, but in Total War, they would probably have this as an ability that does a large amount of damage to a single character. Perhaps the reason I would most like to see Prince Apophis in this game is for his animation. A character made of scarabs could look really cool to see when attacking. For vampire counts, I chose Neferata, the Queen of Lamia. Vampires honestly don't need more characters, they have more than any other faction. However, Neferata is a massive historical figure for vampires. She was the first. She could be unique in being given traits for both vampires and Tomb Kings. Since she was born and raised in ancient Nehekara, this would make a lot of sense. With the diplomatic games she plays with foreign courts, she could be given similar ability as the High Elves to influence how factions see each other. Her end goal would be to reclaim Lamia, her home city, and establish herself as the Eternal Queen. If they include more vampire characters, it will likely be Neferata. For the Warriors of Chaos, I chose one of my favorite characters of all time, Grom the Conqueror, Herald of the End Times, one of the mightiest warriors to have ever walked. A leader and a general who has won countless victories. But more than that, he is a duelist. Like all of those under the eyes of chaos, they thrive in a one-on-one. What I love most about him is he's one of the very few special characters who is not equipped with magical arms and armor. He prefers to take on his opponents with skill alone. Armed with an axe, sword, and shield, he is equipped to take on any opponent brave enough to come before him. He could start in the most northeastern corner of the map, and once Warhammer 3 comes out, he would start northeast of the Mountains of Morn if possible, the location of the Kurgan, his home tribe. For the Wood Elves, I chose Nestaria and Naharan, the Sisters of Twilight. Wood Elves are desperately in need of an update, and they're the only faction with a meager 2 legendary lords. This faction is my favorite in the tabletop, and it hurts me to see them ignored so. But I digress. The Sisters of Twilight are twins with a strong bond, more like one soul inhabiting 2 bodies, but this does not mean they are similar. They are very different in both appearance and personality. Nestra is dark of hair and cruel. She has no problem giving her victims a slow death. Her bow, the Talon of Dawn, wreaks havoc upon those it strikes. Her sister, Aharon, is light of hair and compassionate. She slays her foes with tears in her eyes, avoiding doing so when she can. If one dies, the other must quickly be slain, lest the slain sister come back to life. So long as one lives, they both do. In Total War, they'll likely be given a combined profile with regeneration. Elsewise, it would just be far too hard to slay them. I've wanted to see the Sisters of Twilight in Total War ever since the game was first announced. I hope to one day get my wish, or at least another Wood Elf legendary lord. Factions I had left out were the Vampire Coast, because they were such a minor part of the lore. They had only really needed Luther Harkon. I didn't really care about any of the other ones because they were just more mentioned than had any character or personality. I also left out Norska. Since both of their legendary lords came from the Warriors of Chaos book, it would have felt redundant to choose more from their book. I also left out Ogres, Daemons of Chaos, and Chaos Dwarfs, since they have not yet been released. I do, however, plan to release a video on legendary lords I hope to see from these factions. You may have also noticed that for Lisbon and Empire, I chose heroes that were just announced a couple of days ago. This is because I had already written this before they were announced. I also didn't want to have to write them both again, and I was a little smug about being right for both of them. I was, however, surprised to see that they came out at the same time, especially with Lizardman just getting a large update with the last DLC. Also, I was surprised to see Nakai, the Wanderer, in a Horde faction, although it makes a lot of sense. When these new legendary lords drop on September 11th, I plan to make a video of them with my thoughts and impressions on how they function on the battlefield and the campaign map. Thanks for watching. Are there any important characters you disagree with? Is there anybody that you would like to see in the game? If so, I'd be interested in knowing who and why. Please leave a comment below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to post a video every 2 weeks or so, but now I'm off to work because YouTube doesn't pay my bills.